Hey guys, since our last video started smack dab in the middle of development and people actually watched it, I thought why not give a bit more of a look into what our game actually is. So that's what we're going to do this week. I'll be giving an overview of what our game's concept is, and also giving a little update on what we did last week. And stay tuned to the end to hear about some exciting changes coming to the channel. But without further ado, let's get into it. So what is Downer? Well, to put it simply, I would say Downer is a narrative-driven gaming experience with some puzzle and horror elements sprinkled in there. The concept for this game is actually derived from another game idea me and Darian had, but the scope of that project is way too ambitious for a first game dev project, and we wanted to make something that could be completed in the span of about 3 months of development time. That game took place on a college campus, and a very important character in the game was your assigned roommate. And they're pretty shy, so they didn't really talk much, but for some reason when it was late at night, they would open up to the player character, and the player would start to learn more about them as a person. Great! That's a solid jumping off point for a standalone game. So me and Darian walked ourselves to a very nice Chinese restaurant, sat down, and thought, okay, with this basic idea, what would be the core theme of the game we're making? And we stumbled on the theme of active listening. Listening takes effort, and we wanted the player to feel that through the story and gameplay. So let's take it from the top. You're a freshman at college and it's move-in day. You head to your dorm room, and lo and behold, your roommate's there. You introduce yourself, but they don't seem too receptive, so you just shrug it off and go about your day. Later that night, when you're trying to head to bed, the roommate pipes up and apologizes, and you find that they were just kind of shy. Finally, the roommate opens up and starts to talk about themselves. Thus begins your conversation with the titular character, Downer. Who is Downer? Why are they called that? Why are they always gloomy? You start to learn all about them through the stories that Downer tells about themselves at this late hour. But where does the gameplay come in? Well, the stories that Downer is telling, whether they be dreams, nightmares, past memories, Downer's perceptions, you get to actually play through in a first-person 3D environment. But how do the gameplay mechanics reinforce the theme of active listening? The first is active listening being the act of deciphering the story. As alluded to before, Downer's stories don't necessarily play out like concrete memories. They can be dreams, nightmares, they can be surreal and difficult to parse. And how well you do is kept track of in small quiz sections that happen at the end of each dream sequence. And if you succeed, you are rewarded by being able to take that information and hopefully make a positive impact on Downer in the real world. But if you fail, you may not get that upside. Method 2 is making the physical act of listening itself difficult. So the whole idea is that you don't want to fall asleep while listening to Downer tell their stories. In the game, we did this through a mechanic of light. Staying in the light keeps you awake, but if you are out of the light for too long, you fall asleep and you run the risk of skipping a section of gameplay. And this sort of mechanic that's themed around light, I think, opens up a lot of doors with the possibilities of how our puzzles and gameplay will function, which is very exciting. Now, if you recall, this is what our game looked like last week, but we've made a few improvements, and this is what it looks like now. Honestly, it's crazy how much more the vibe has been improved now that we put in actual assets. A lot of the assets is an asset pack, but we made some of the assets ourselves, like the firework box, a lamp, screwdriver, some things that we could. And a big part of why our game's look is so successful is thanks to the dithering shader by Done It So. If we had more time, I would have loved to actually figure out how shaders work and write the shader myself, but with the timeline we're on, we don't really have that luxury. When we were thinking about the aesthetics of the game, this is kind of what we had in mind, and finding something that's already out there that could help us get there is great. So huge shout out to DOWNER. As promised though, I did say there was going to be a channel update at the end of this. What are we waiting for? Let's do the grand reveal. From this day forth, we are indie dev team Ponyboy Studios. And honestly, thank you so much for the support last week. We did not think as many people that did see it would see something like that. We really just made that for the sake of the class. And I am very happy that you guys actually seem to respond and like what we're doing. So hopefully we'll be making more of these devlogs moving forward and putting in more effort into the videos themselves. Definitely stay tuned if you'd like to learn more about our game as we make it. I definitely have some cool ideas cooked up for future devlogs and specific things I want to focus on that I think would be useful to you guys as fellow developers, or just to enjoy. But with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next devlog. See ya!